All right, so today I just want to go through a few questions of how we can use the product and the quotient rule in a different way. And so the first example that I have in front of you here says, suppose f prime of 4 equals -1. So it's giving you the derivative of the function of f at 4. And then it says find g prime of 4. And that causes its own little dilemma there, because you're like, wait, they just talked about f, but now they're saying g. But if you look further, it says if g of x equals, and notice it's a function of f of x. So we're going to handle it just by saying, okay, we know what they want me to find. They want me to find g prime of x. And obviously we'll end up plugging 4 in there. So I'm going to take g of x, and I'm going to find its derivative. So just generally speaking, the derivative of this would be 5 times f prime of x. If you wanted to do the product rule, then remember what that would look like. It would be the first, which would be 5, times the derivative of the second, which is f prime of x, plus the second, f of x, times the derivative of the first, which would be 0. And so that second piece would be 0 anyway. Again, just to reiterate that when that first function is just a constant, it really is just take the derivative of that second piece and slap that constant right in front of it. It's nothing more than that. Now, when it says g prime of 4, what that means is in place of x, we're putting 4. So let's do that. 5 times f prime of 4. Again, in place of the x, we put the 4. Well, what's f prime of 4? That's where that information in the beginning is useful. And so that means we're doing 5 times -1, and so that gives me -5. Looking at another one that's not quite as simple or straightforward, I guess, is this next one that says, suppose f prime of 4 equals -1 and f of 4 equals 7. And then again, it's talking about g. Let me just, as a quick little side note, when the CLEP exam gives you questions like this and they give you some information, like you see, suppose f prime of 4 and that kind of thing, understand that they don't usually waste information. You know, sometimes you'll see these math problems that have extra information and you're supposed to sift through what you need and what you don't. Let me just say to you, be aware that they probably didn't give you extra information. That's not, they trick you in other ways, and the material itself is hard enough that they don't usually give you extra information. Just throwing it out there as just a little tidbit of knowledge. All right, so once again, we have g of x. G of x in this case is x times f of x. So in order to do the derivative of g of x, we have to do the product rule. So the first times the derivative of the second, plus the second times the derivative of the first. And of course, the derivative of x is 1. So now when it says g prime of 4, once again, every place you see x, you're going to put 4. That's what that means. And so now, to fill in this information, what we have is 4. F prime of 4, as you see above, is -1, plus f of 4, which it says is 7. So again, let's just do that math. That'd be -4 plus 7, and so therefore that's 3. Your answer to that is 3. All right, what if instead g of x equaled f of x divided by x squared, using the same supposing stuff? So this one would require the quotient rule. So that's low times the derivative of high minus high times the derivative of low all over low squared. And so just to plug in that information once again, so that's your g prime of x. So now if we want to do g prime of 4, every place that you see an x, you're going to put 4. So let's do that. What is then 4 squared? 4 squared is 16. What's f prime of 4? Remember from above? It's -1. Minus f of 4 again was, I'm going to have to look because I don't really know. F of 4, it says is 7. Okay. So we're going to put 7 here. So -7 times 8. That's just 2 times 4. All over. And we have on the bottom here 16 squared. All right, so again, -16 minus 56 all over 16 squared. And so what do we get from there? we get negative 40 over, was that 256? And if you can simplify, which obviously we can divide by 4, right? So maybe we would divide something out here and we could simplify that. So if you simplify, you get negative 5 over 32, as you'd expect. All right, and that just concludes those 3 different examples. Take your time, look through them again, and understand that really the derivative part, you're going to execute that rule, and then you're just plugging in for x and using the information in the problem to answer it fully. So it does pose its own little confusion, I suppose. So make sure that you do see that you just take each step one at a time, and you'll eventually come out with the answer.